Hi everyone, in this video I will show you how to use the open source privacyIDEA to set up the Windows RDP and authenticate with the MFA, multi-factor authentication. So here we are. This is the agenda. There are 5 steps I'm going to show you. The first is set up a domain controller. Then we set up the privacyIDEA server, which by running Ubuntu server. And then we set up the domain member using a Windows Server 2019. Join the domain, and then we configure the privacyIDEA for settings. And at the last step, we are going to test it. Okay. So I prepared the commands which we'll be using for the steps. And before we start, let's do a quick introduction of the privacyIDEA. So here it is, the homepage, privacyIDEA.org. The privacyIDEA is a flexible open source multi-factor authentication, as the official website described. Now let's check. I've already launched 3 virtual machines, 2 Windows Server 2019 and 1 Ubuntu 22.04 LTS version. Now let's get started. The first step is to prepare the domain controller. Now as you can see, I'm now working on the Windows Server 2019 -DC, this one. Now let's open the Windows PowerShell and find out the PowerShell command I've already prepared. The first step is to rename the computer. Rename computer. Let's give it a name to DC with the parameter restart. Yeah, now it's restarting. Okay, very quick. Once we restart it, let's open the PowerShell again, check the host name. Now it's already named DC, right? So next step is to install the feature of the domain controller. Let's just copy and paste it. Yes. It will take minutes. So this is why I love the PowerShell. It makes the job more simple instead of using the GUI. Okay, that's done. And then let's give it a domain name, which I'm using the name of ps.com. It's a fake domain where I will only using in the virtual environment. And now let's set up this safe mode administrator password. Type it again, and we answer A, stand for yes to all. Now it's installing the ADDSForest by using the domain name ps.com. By the way, there is a bug, I guess, in the old version of the Windows PowerShell, which is if you click somewhere in the terminal, the console will be freezed, and you have to press any key, such as the arrow key. Yeah, that will resume its work, back to work. Otherwise, you will see nothing changes. Let's wait and see. Okay, during the same time, let's turn it to the background. And let's go to the Ubuntu virtual machine. here it is. For the purpose of running command, I'm going to using the SS shell instead of operated directly from the Hyper-V console. So I've already logged it, and I've already renamed it to MFA to the host name. So the first step is to get the privacyIDEA server's repo. We can find it from the document here. Yeah, that's it. Add the repository, then blah blah blah. Well, that's too long to read, and I'm going to show you what I'm using. The first one is to download the release file. That's done, and then move it to the etc folder. Well, that's error because I'm not in the sudo root user. Let's change it. Okay, repeat the command. It's moved, and then we run the add apt repository command to add the privacyIDEA repository. Let's type enter to continue. Here you can see I already changed the mirror to China's repository because it will be faster. Right, the repository is already added, and now let's install the privacyIDEA with Apache 2. Let's have a look at the domain controller progress. It's almost done. We can wait for them both. And the last command, you can see the pi-manage is a built-in CLI command which will manage the users of the privacyIDEA server. So this line command will add a new administrator user named admin, and with the email address, which is also a fake one. That's okay. So let's copy it first and wait for the installation finish it. Okay, so it's done. Now let's run this command to add the new user. Give it a password. Right, we created the user. Okay, that's the job for this MFA backend. And okay, here the domain controller is also ready to shut down. Yes, it will restart automatically. So the first time when we set up, configure it as a domain controller, it will take longer time to prepare for the requirements. We can minimize this Ubuntu virtual machine. Now let's switch to the member machine. Right. Yeah, this is a typically Windows Server 2019. It's clean and empty. Once the domain controller is ready, we are going to join this computer to the ps.com domain. So let's review what we are going to do. The first step is to change the DNS settings. You can use set this by the GUI from the network settings, or by using this command. That's the same. And the next step is we are going to join it to the domain. Okay, so let's wait. Maybe we can open the PowerShell first. And let's see what's the host name of this one. Okay, it's using the default random Windows host name. Maybe we can change it. Rename computer name. Okay, so for no name, rename computer, yeah. And let's give it a name. Number 1. Restart. Yes. Oh, I forgot to inject the installer image. That's okay. And once we log in again, let's check host name. Yes, it's been changed. And the domain controller is still applying computer settings. So let's keep waiting. Okay, finally it finished it. Let's log into the domain controller again. Right, let's open the PowerShell to check the IP address, IP config. Okay, it's using this IP address. Let's copy it and update the command here. So let's copy the complete command and paste it to run in the member machine, right? This will change the default DNS server pointing to the domain controller. And after that, we can try to ping the ps.com to verify it can be resolved to the private IP address, which is the domain controller. Let's compare. Yes, it's 1.157. 1.157. Yes, it's right. Okay, for the next step, we are going to join this computer to the domain. Yes, that's it. Yet another bug of the PowerShell, I guess. So if you can see the cursor on the screen, and if you right-click your mouse, it will copy the selected content. So we have to copy and paste again. Yeah. And here we are going to type the administrator's password from the domain controller. It's different of your current member's password. Let's type it. Okay, after then we have completely joined this member machine to the domain, which is ps.com. Now we can sign in to the PS. You can notice this, and we are going to use the username administrator. Here we are. But as you noticed, they changed the sign to the member 1 because we have the same username on our local user groups and local users. So we have to type the complete name at ps.com, and then we are going to sign to the domain instead of sign locally. Okay, now we're here, and also we can check if our computer is successfully joined the domain by running dsa.msc. to open the Active Directory users and computers management tool, expand the ps.com users, maybe not the computers. Yeah, we can find it. The number 1 computer is here. So that means we successfully joined this member machine to the domain. Okay, so we are here going to the step 4 to configure the privacy IDEA. Still remember we've installed the privacy servers on the Ubuntu virtual machine, and now we are going to access it. But before that, we have to find out what the IP address. Let's go to there again. Yes, it's 1.161. That's the IP address. Now we can open the browser. Yes. So there is a HTTPS warning because we are using the self-signed certificate, which will not be recognized by the browser. That's okay. You can just ignore it by pressing the advanced tag and button, continue with it. Yeah. Here we are going to use the user we've created at the step 2. Do you still remember this one? We run the pi-manage command. So the username is admin and the password is which you set it. Let's skip the welcome informations. Okay, so notice about this question. It's asking us to create a default realm because we are going to use the user data from our domain controller instead of the local users. So we do not create a default realm at this step. We choose no. And then let's check what we are going to do. The first step is to create a LDAP resolver. Here we can go to the config, users, and we choose the new LDAP resolver from here. Give it a name. Let's say it's a ps.com -resolver, right? And the second option is a server URI, which you can see there are some placeholder already typed. It's the format of your domain controller's full name, host name with the domain suffix. So let's complete it to LDAP dc.ps.com. That's it. And start TLS, we do not choose this one because we are not going to use the TLS. The base DN, let's go back to the domain controller. I will show you how to find it. Okay, as you can see, the structure of our domain is the root is ps.com, and here the users, it's a container. I'm not going to explain the concept of the domain controllers such as OU, DC, and so on. But for this example, we are going to type the base DN as this one. You can see the first is DC equals PS and DC equals com. So this format means DC is typically the short of distinguished controller. Oh no, sorry for that. I'm not sure what it stands for, but this format will targeting to the ps.com, so that's the format for history reasons. Let's skip this. And here, the band type, we are going to use the simple and the band DN, which DN is the distinguished name. We are pointing to a specific domain user, which I'm going to use the built-in administrators, this one. And its full path in the domain, we can typically type it as this: cn equals administrator, and the cn equals users, dc equals ps, dc equals com. I forgot to r, right? So this is the format. As you can see, the administrator user is belonging to the users container, and the users is belonging to the ps.com. But the ps.com is going to use this format, which will be separated to two parts by the dot. So here it is: cn. The first cn is the username, the second cn is the container name, and the rest of this is the domain name, which will be separated to two parts. And here the band password is the password of this domain controller's user, the administrator. So let's type it. And we left the other options by default. And here we choose the preset active directory to finish the mapping configuration. That's okay. And before we go in next step, we are going to test it first. Let's click the test button, and you can see here we are going to fail, definitely, because as you can see, we choose the server UI with the custom domain name, which the ps.com is a fake domain. And if we directly use this, and we can notice about the error message: no active server available in server pool, and it's a timeout, right? Let's continue to explain why it fails. Because this ps.com will be only resolved to our virtual machine's private address by using the domain controller as the DNS resolver. So we can see if we ping the ps.com from the domain controller, or whether from our member machine, it will be resolved to this one. But if we ping it from my local machine, right, you can see it's a public IP address. That's correct. But if we are we try to ns lookup ps.com with the specific DNS address, which is this domain controller config. It's 1.157. As you can see, if we are going to use this server to resolve the domain, it will give us the answer of the private address. So that's what we are going to do, is to change our privacyIDEA server, which is the Ubuntu virtual machine. Let's change its DNS settings to pointing to this domain controller, and make the Ubuntu system can resolve the ps.com to the correctly private address. Because I've installed the minimum Ubuntu server, so there is no ping command yet. So that's not a problem. And let's check the configuration of the Ubuntu operating system. So since the Ubuntu 22.04, it's using the systemd resolved.d as its service to resolve domains, we are going to modify the configuration file, which under etc systemd, and it's named resolved.conf. Wow, our VM is not. Let's install the tools first. Install Y. Yes. Yeah, let's edit this file. We are just adding a new line at the end of this file. Let's give it its DNS equals. So let's recap the IP address of the domain controller. It's 1.57. That's it. Paste it. Yes. Right and quit. And don't forget to restart the system control restart system d-resolve-d. Resolve-d. Yes, and let's try. Oh, still no ping. Let's install it. Install ping. Oh, no ping. It's named iNetUtils ping. Right. Ping ps.com. Right. You can see our Ubuntu can ping and resolve the ps.com to our private address successfully. Okay, let's go back to the privacy console. After a time out of no actions, it will lock the UI. And we have to type the password one more time to unlock it. Now let's test it again. Yeah, you can see the test result shows OK, and the 3 users objective found. So after then, we can save the resolver. It is. OK, so the next step is going to create a realm, which realm stands for some concept of accessing the resolvers. So let's switch to the realms tab, and here we give it a name such as my realm, and let's check on the resolver and create realm. That's it. Now let's go back to the users tab, and we can see here are 3 users which was loaded from our domain controller. And the administrator is which one we are going to use. So let's click the username administrator. Then we can find there is a button named Enroll New Token. Let's click it. And for the token type, we are going to use the TOTP, which stands for time-based one-time password. So this type will allow us to use such as the Google Authenticator or the Microsoft Authenticator, or such as the Authy, or any of the popular application on your mobile phone to scan a QR code and bind your cell phone to the token. So when, after we choose the correct type, we can keep other options as the default and enrolled token. Now we can see we got a QR code, and we can use our cell phone open, such as I'm going to use a Google Authenticator, and click the add button, scan the QR from your phone. That's done. So once you scanned the QR code, your cell phone will display the bonded device directly and without updating this page. So we can remember the serial number and compare it to your cell phone. So this serial number is ended with IF12, and I can find it on my cell phone. I'm not going to show you that. So after that, it's done. This step is done, and we can go back to our users administrator and review the tokens for the user. We can see there is already enrolled tokens list from here, and you can compare the serial number of your cell phone's application. That's it. Okay, so next we are going to go back to our member machine. Let's switch to the member machine. Yeah, that's it. So on this member machine, the last step is going to install the privacyIDEA plugin, which will allow Windows to add more feature, just one more input text box on the lock screen. So we are going to read the document. Maybe we can find it directly from here. I've already prepared it. Let me show you. It's this one. We can download it from the GitHub of the privacyIDEA's repo. You can see. So the latest one is version 3.5.3. Here it is. We are just to download this installer, and then let's copy it and paste it to the member machine. Right. Yeah, it is. And let's install it. For the install setup wizard, let's accept the agreement. The very important step is this one, the configuration first step. We are going to change the host name from the default to DC. No, sorry, it's not DC. This attribute will be equals to our privacyIDEA server. So let's check our privacyIDEA server, which is Ubuntu. Its IP address. Here it is, 1.161. Once again, this is going to use the Ubuntu, which is the privacyIDEA server's IP address. Let's type it. And since we are just running a demo and we do not have the CA or SSL related certificates, we are going to click on these two ignore options to prevent the further errors which will be happening to the SSL. So let's we keep the other unchecked next. We do not change anything of the other steps and keep next to install. Finish. That's all. Okay. So we already installed the plugin, and as you can see, by installing this privacyIDEA credential provider, we cannot see any of the icons or the tricon, or even there is not entry from the start menu, but it's already working background. So let's try to RDP to it. Let's review its IP address. It's 1.16.0, and I'm going to try to RDP to this member machine from my local, and yeah, it is 1.160. Connect. Here, please notice that we are going to change the credential from the local administrator to the domain, which is administrator@ps.com, and password, we are going to use the password. Yes. Here we are. As you can see, instead of directly connected to our Windows system, here is another option which asking us to type the one-time password, and we can see beside the user list there is a privacyIDEA login, and we can unlock our cell phone, open the Google Authenticator or whatever you are using, find out the bonded token, and here let's type the real-time code. It's 877299. Right. So if the code matches, you will be logged into the system. And let's try again. Disconnect it first. Let's run again. And in this time, I'm going to use the correct password, but I'm going to use a wrong one-time password, such as a random number. And you can see if the one-time password is wrong, you will not be able to log into it. Click OK, and let's type the correct again, 384227. Right, that's it. Pretty easy, right? Okay, so let's recap what we've done. Let's check my document. So first one is we set up a domain controller, because this feature will only be working with the domain environment, but not standalone environment. And we set up a privacyIDEA server by using a Ubuntu operating system. So there are these two are the key points. And then we set up a domain named ps.com, and we using a Windows Server as a client, or maybe we can see it's a domain member, to join the domain ps.com. And last, we configured a privacyIDEA. We added LDAP resolver, a realm, and we can find the users from our domain. Then we allocate a token to a domain user, and then we install the privacyIDEA plugin for the Windows system. And last one, I'm missing for one part, is to bind our cell phone's application to the token. You can use such as the Google, Microsoft Authenticator, or such as third part, the ALSI, or anything you like to use. Okay, so that's all. I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you have any concerns or questions, you can leave your comment. Thank you. See you next time, guys. Bye-bye.